Hello and welcome to the Footy Interchange. Terrific to have your company, and it's the final pod for season 2025 of the Footy Interchange. It's been great to be in the chair this season as we've zipped right around the country and checked in with all of our experts. We'll talk about that a little bit more. The trade period in the dying stages, and it's all being a little bit stage managed to get to the end. A few more of your questions to get to as I welcome in Will Schofield. Scoey, great to have you along, and final pod. We made it to the final one of the year.
I was about to say we made it to the end of the year, mate. So, look, it's been really fun bringing this podcast to life. Hopefully it's been a little bit different to at least what we do here on BackChat. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel or anything, but yeah, it's been really fun to be a part of.
Yeah, that's something that we tried to make it just a little bit different to all the other ones out there and a little bit more in depth in terms of having a wider look at around the league rather than just focusing in on WA or the podcaster in Victoria just focusing on the Melbourne teams most of the time. So trying to bring a bit of a wider lens to people that are genuinely interested in what's going on with every club around the league.
Yeah, and I think, having the people on the ground like we have, they just know more than we ever could, just like we know probably more about what's happening here in Western Australia. The people that we've spoken about, and there's been a lot of them, hasn't there? Speaking to them about, what they're actually seeing and hearing whilst in the state, even though a few of them have been travelling around as the year's gone.
As we've gone through. It's been really good fun. I hope you've enjoyed it out there, and thanks to everyone for tuning in on the way through. We do have a few things to discuss before we finish up. Sco, as I said, the trade period getting to its conclusion, so we won't talk specific deals that are still waiting to happen, but I just wanted to get your overall sense on the trade period this year, how you think it's gone. Has it been to the interest levels you think that people are crying out for? Do you think the AFL would be happy? Are the fans out there happy that we've had a lot of the bigger name players trying to move clubs?
Talk about looking at it from different lenses. About this podcast is you have to look at it from different lenses for the trade period probably. So if we can bounce through those a little bit, would the fans be happy? I guess it depends what club you go for. But overall for fans, I think there's genuine interest when clubs are involved in a trade. Now, might not like it if you're Essendon and your captain wants to leave, but the interest is there. You don't have to like it to be interested. So I think from a fan's point of view, player movement's a good thing in a way, but it's also a bad thing. If you're a club that hasn't been able to compete forever and you've got players leaving, going to a club that is competing. I mean, West Coast Oscar Allen, probably a good example. Well, it's a pretty disappointing movement. Now, you get the compensation back the other way, but it's not good when Allen and Ryan leave a footy club for West Coast fans. But, I'd like to think that, it's a two-way street, but sometimes it's not. For the clubs, I still think the control is completely within the players. We haven't really seen a club be able to take back control, although, I know we're going to break them down in detail, but Essendon and Carlton, with two superstars wanting to leave their club, have been pretty steadfast on those deals not getting done. So I guess we'll have to wait and see till tonight if they do get done, but, they're probably rare occasions where the club has actually got the control and the power, which I don't think is a good thing. I think it needs to be more balanced. And then if the AFL, and you're looking at this trade period, well, they want player movement, I think. Mm-hmm. Would you say that's right?
I think they like the discussion around the player movement at the very least.
Yeah, so I think they want player movement. They also preach that they want equality. And I don't think the way the trade period, free agent acquisition set up is set up for equality. And I think it's far more available and probably more appetising for players to go to a club that's challenging versus a club that's not. And you can see that by the players that move and who they are and how good of players they are and where they go from and where they go to, that the percentages say that players are moving from clubs that aren't going as well to a more competitive club. Yes, there's some deals done for money. You'd have to say the Collingwood deals this year have been done for money. Going from Collingwood to Melbourne for Myercheck feels like a contract deal.
Yep.
There's just not enough of those type operations, and the clubs that aren't competing really struggle to compete at the trade table. Probably, I mean, they've almost got to take what they can get, and some clubs don't get anything at all.
Which is why we see the clubs that have been good at negotiating through this and setting themselves up for the long term continue to refresh with players wanting to go there because they are going to be successful for quite some time. Can you see a way around it? Like, does the salary cap have to be even? Is that an equalisation measure that the AFL could look at?
Or make it disproportionate?
Well, if you're a lower club, that you actually get a little bit more on the salary cap next year to try to entice some more players there, and those ones at the top find a little bit tougher. Might be too hard to actually execute. But so the equalisation measures they've used at the moment, I don't think have worked to actually help equalise the competition, because we just keep seeing the best players as free agents moving to clubs that are contending. It's been very rare to see those good players moving to clubs that are struggling.
Yeah.
And they get stuck in this cycle of just having to keep refreshing with draft picks.
Yeah, and I mean, we haven't seen, this has been the biggest name trade period we've seen. Like, has Petrarca got done? No. But that's close.
Not as we record.
Just think about the names: Petrarca, Oliver, Merritt, Kerno, Simpkin, Allen, Ryan. Like, there's a lot of big names moving, and that from an interest point of view is good. But then, the way it's sort of going to play out with all of those players linked to clubs that are over them in the ladder. I think player managers have a lot to do with how some of these negotiations go as well, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing, especially ones that hold a number of players, either at clubs that are trading or clubs they're trading to, or another deal they're trying to do either this year or next year or the year after, and involving those sorts of things. You can see them when they get done. I reckon it's not holding them hostage, it's the relationship side that you can sort of say, well, if we can get this done, then maybe we can get this player to you next year, or whatever it is. I don't know if that's great, but I don't know if that's avoidable either. You can't just suddenly say, oh, well, I don't know, player managers can only have one player from every club. Like, you're always going to have better player managers than others, and some that hold big stables. And like, that's where they get the advantage too. They know what other players are on at other clubs, and they know the salaries, and that's the biggest advantage that managers have, and they play a huge part in this. Like, you'll see in the final hour today, like, you'll just see managers running everywhere, and like them sitting with list managers and sitting them. I reckon last year it was like Connors or Young or one of the big hitters, like sitting in a club room, like next to the list managers. It feels a bit strange sometimes. But I mean, that's their job. I don't know how you see that.
The AFLPA have spoken again, reaffirming that they don't want to see players being traded without their consent, against their will. I think that would open up more deals being done, particularly around these bigger name players, where they could just a club could just tack on another young midfielder or something like that they try to get this deal done. Like Cam McKenzie and Merritt's been thrown up to just help unlock that deal. Can you see a way of that happening at all? I mean, the PA will be against it completely because it's not in the best interest of the players, but the clubs would want that power, I think. Yeah,
so I mean, the Players Association, they're the Players Association, so they're going to try to, maintain the power for the players. I think in some instances it would be healthy for a club to be able to do it, but in some instances it wouldn't. So I guess, where does the buck stop with who effectively the league owes the responsibility to? And if you open it up, full slather, then I think that's not what you want either. And I don't really know the measures you need to put in place to make it viable for it to, for some, they work for some, not for others. But yeah, I mean, the clubs would want it for sure. I mean, it would give them back the power to be able to, hold over players, just like the players certainly hold the power right now, but maybe that's where it needs to sit. I mean, maybe with the wages that players are on, and that's ever increasing, but maybe the power does still need to remain with the players.
The feeling this year's been that it's not a super strong draft, or at least there's not, out and out. You definitely know who the number one pick is. You definitely know who the top five are. It's a bit more even across the early stages of the draft. The thing that I think the overwhelming feeling has been this year is that if you have pick 10, it's not actually pick 10.
Yeah.
It's going to be pick 12, 13, 14, 15 once all the academy bids come in and the father sons and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So that's something that needs to be addressed. The AFL have spoken about it. I know it's a bee in my bonnet that I always speak about, but getting back to getting actual reward for the draft pick that you've got, I think will help unlock these deals too, because clubs are wanting more and more at the trade table. And if your selection that you've got keeps getting diluted by academy picks or is expected to be diluted by academy picks, I think it makes it harder for clubs to get some of these deals done because they don't feel like if you're giving up pick 9, well, it's not actually a top 10 pick because by the time you get it, it's going to be pick 13.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Like, I mean, the academies are set up to try and improve these teams, right? Like,
Well, they're set up to try to improve, yes, the teams, but to try to improve the players that actually get recruited to the game. That's the ultimate aim that the academies are supposed to be for.
Yeah.
Is to produce more talent in those regions.
I guess I'd need to see like a list of academy players, who they are, to sort of say, well, it's having a real impact. Clearly the clubs that pick them up that are in their academies, they rate them highly. Like they've seen them train and they've seen them in the academy and whatever that, so that they're probably like valuing them higher than perhaps they would be if they weren't in an academy anyway. So I guess it'd be good to see like a bit of a table of who's who, because I don't really know, who's an academy player and who's not. Do you?
I do when you're broadcasting a game because I always have it written down, ready to go. If you've got 5 academy players today,
so you'd be better than me. So do you think like these academy players are the best players in the game? Like, is there players like that I literally don't know?
Yeah, I mean the Swans have had a really good history with academy players coming through. The Suns list is stacked with academy players that have come through. Brisbane have had a number of academies and father sons come through there too. So look, it definitely has an impact. It's more about that early access to them in the draft when they, in a fair and equitable draft, every club gets access to that player if they're rated in the top 5 in the competition.
I like your solution of like handing the academies back to the AFL, and you still have the academies and you still develop the players and you still support and promote footy in the northern states or whatever over here in the west. But anyone can get them, and the clubs aren't using their resources to do it. Because that's the argument against, is like, well, okay, so you want us to develop these players and promote the game and grow the game in these states, Gold Coast for instance, but then we're not allowed to pick up the players. That's the argument they would use.
Yep.
So if we used your model and it was an AFL run academy, well, yeah, Ballet's a good player that's been developed in an academy, and I think that would fix a lot, really.
Well, the AFL can just go, we give you X amount of funding a year, we run the game. This is just one of your responsibilities that you have to do.
Yeah.
And you have to have X amount of player appearances to come down to an academy session to help these guys out coming through, which is what you would have got as a player when you were coming through and how much that benefited you. So a bit of giving back in that time too. I think that would help it. I think the price that they have to pay will increase, so it's going to be a little bit harder, or you have to give up a lot more to get these types of players. So those changes will happen in the future. One thing I thought popped up yesterday, Scully, that was of interest. Maybe it's of interest to you.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
We've now got Nathan Buckley going into coach at Geelong, but still holding a position in the media. So has this unlocked some doors for you to now go and be an assistant coach in the AFL?
No, thank you.
Go and be an assistant coach somewhere in the AFL. Go and work with the back line there at West Coast, and also be able to do stuff at BackChat and 6PR and Fox Footy and everything else.
Is that what will happen?
Yep. So still do on the couch, still work on some games, still be coaching at Geelong. And he's got a 1-year deal, and it looks like the stepping stone will be obviously get back into coaching, back in the system, figure out what's going on because he's been out for a couple of years with the eye to take on the job in Tassie.
Well, it feels like, just to speak about the coaching job, it feels like you probably couldn't get a better job in the country working at Geelong, given what they've done from a development point of view, which if Bucks' eyes are on the Tassie job, which I think he's pretty much said they are, well, to go in and learn from Geelong around developing players, that's probably what he's saying. How it works, sort of crossing over from media. I know Daisy Pearce was doing some work at Geelong.
Yep.
And there was a bit of back and forth around being access to rooms, and it probably is more about Geelong than it is anyone else. Like, if they're happy with Bucks giving his opinion and, that just being what it is, rather than like protecting what he says. And like, we know sort of how Geelong operates in terms of like letting people be who they are. I feel like Geelong won't really be too bothered. Now, will it create some issues? Probably. It probably will. There'll certainly be something that comes up that he either can't speak about or does speak about that shouldn't, or
people read into comments that he makes more than maybe what they should because he's associated with Geelong.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if we sort of see this a bit around other sports. Like, does the NRL do it a bit? Like, I know like Billy Slater and stuff coaches Queensland, and he's in the media, and there seems like a bunch of those sort of players in the NRL. I still think his insight's the same. I think that the clash is less of media clash and more of a football club clash. Like, you could argue that the insight's going to be even better given he's in a football club, couldn't you? Selfishly, if you're the media organisation, you say, well, having someone in that position, is it any different to Chris Scott doing his regular slot on 360, or there's plenty of coaches that speak regularly in the media. But we haven't probably seen something like this before.
Not really. I guess when he's going to be asked and analysing other clubs too, and then clubs have always been paranoid about, other teams using that as motivation, haven't they? Across the journey, taking someone's comments and saying, he doesn't rate us, or he doesn't think this.
You'd have to sort of ask Chris Scott whether he's that sort of operator, but I've played under coaches that have done that for sure. And that's a risk, I guess, you take. Geelong's probably outweighed that risk with quality of coach, and they obviously rate him highly. So, it's hard to sort of tell whether it's sort of just like, hey, I'm here for a year and then I'm off to Tassie, or, I guess what's going to happen. I guess you can't guarantee anything, can you?
The other one I wanted to ask you about, which I thought was one of the more interesting moments that we've seen in footy this year, media, a good friend of ours, Matthew Pavlich.
Yeah.
So last night he was reading the news for Channel 9, and he did a cross to Owen Leonard in the newsroom, talking through all the trade ramifications. And Pav is obviously the incoming CEO of the Sydney Swans.
Is he the CEO now? Or
no, not officially yet, because he's still
close.
I think his last day at Channel 9 is tomorrow, and then he's stepping into the shoes. But he's asked by Owen Leonard on the flip side, because Pav's asking him the question first. Well, what is going on at Sydney? What's happening with Charlie Curnow? You're going to get him in? They were both having a laugh about it. Like, you had to address it, because he is, yes, as they said, the double agent there, because he was asking about the trade period, knowing full well what's going on.
You tell us, mate. And that's
very humorous.
That's a unique situation too, obviously. And I'm sure they had a bit of a chat. Pat, all you can do is be open and honest, can't you? And just sort of, without, clearly you can just say, well, I'm not telling you exactly what's happening, but, it's your job as a journalist, whatever it is. That was good, though. I've seen him do it a couple of nights in a row now.
Yes.
So if that deal does get done, the Curnow one, it'll be interesting to see him reporting on it
tonight
as the CEO.
And what a great boost for the Sydney Swans.
Or breaking news.
Yeah. Or just real flat if it doesn't get done.
Yeah, correct.
And Charlie Curnow stayed at Carlton.
Yeah, correct. I know you don't want to talk particularly about deals, but that one in particular, mate. Like what Carlton have turned down this morning.
Yes.
That's a big deal turned down. Florent, Hayward, 2 firsts.
Yep.
That feels
First
like
future.
That feels like the farm.
Yeah.
Like that feels like everything in the kitchen sink.
So there was a second round of going back the other way to Sydney. But as we record, the chat was around the contract length and the salary. So that might just be the bit that they're figuring out.
Right.
Yep.
Far out.
But
that's a big move.
Expect it to get done. And that changes Sydney big time.
Wow.
In terms of their forward line.
Everything, doesn't it? I mean, it shows you their need for a absolute gun key forward, which he is. It's just whether or not he can reproduce it in a different environment.
Should be getting some pretty good service, though, from the midfield of the Swans.
Yeah. No Florent and no Hayward significant, though. Like, I think Hayward was All-Australian squad, maybe. He at least had a very good year.
Yeah.
last year.
And
this year, I think still been pretty good.
Handy player. Blues had interest in him previously.
Yeah, so I still think that's a big thing, and that's what you get with these big players as well. Like they're big packages, and then the salary and contract comes to do with it as well.
Let's get into some questions, Scully, because it's actually been one of the best parts, I reckon, of the year is actually interacting with the listeners, the patrons that are there through Patreon who get their questions answered first through social media as well. But we've had a lot of listeners tuned in and a lot of really good feedback right the way through the year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been good. There's been friendly ones. There's been inquisitive ones. There's been barbs thrown.
There's a few sledges all the way through
good.
too.
I think it all comes part and parcel with it. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it too, mate. It's been great to have some interaction with the audience.
It certainly has been. Let's get to a couple of the questions. Start with this one from Broken Chairs about West Coast. It says, I think West Coast have been more active than ever this trade period, sniffing around, but unsuccessful with quite a few, such as Chad Warner, Darcy Cameron, Lockie Neal, Archie, Marshall, Walter Steele, Butler, McVee, etc., etc. But they have picked up Starcevic, Tyler Young from Richmond, and Devon Robertson will get picked up as a delisted agent, plus upgrading their picks as well. They've got pick 1 and 2. They like the strategy overall, as this listener says. Take the 3 or 4 picks in around the top 10. Don't spend too big on the stars. Snag some role players that are AFL standard. Good way to rebuild the list. How have you assessed the Eagles trade period?
Well, I've liked that they've been active. Like they there's been a number of clubs that haven't done anything really. I feel like Kangaroos haven't done a lot. Teams that probably need to as well. I don't know enough about Tyler Young, but that feels like a pretty good acquisition, in a position that they need a bit of depth in, and whether or not he can challenge for round 1 spot. Starcevic will, clearly add experience, hardness, 2-time premiership winning player, and so culture probably. And what they've done with their draft picks, Glenn Jakovic was talking to him about it last week. They're not going to have eight selections in the draft, so. Whether they've traded too high for Young or however you see that, they're not going to have, 8 or 9 selections. They're probably going to have 4, 5. And, you go and take 1 and 2, and they've got their second rounder as well. A pretty good package of players. So, I've liked the move to West Coast. And then, just to put in Freo into the mix as well, I think they added what they needed to in Judd McVee, West Australian kid. Really liked him as a player, just seeing him develop. And, Freo have probably done what they needed to do as well, which is probably just add a bit of quality to their list, and they didn't need to do much.
Another one says, as an Eagles fan, we need a decent ruck. As a bit of a wild theory out there, should the Eagles look at Mason Cox if he gets delisted by Collingwood?
Oh... No, probably not.
They'll have all those extra rookie spots to go and pick up some of those mature age players around the place.
I know Matt Flynn is maligned to an extent. I thought he got better as the year went on. He feels like a player that needs the confidence of you're going to get picked every week. And, maybe the team does benefit for having someone else really challenging for that spot, but maybe they don't. Maybe Matt Flynn can get better as well. I think his around the ground work is really good. Contested marks. I think at his best, he's a good contested mark and good around the ground player. Can he just compete as a ruckman? Too many of these teams that have been really good don't have gun ruckman. The top 4 from this year, Lloyd Meek and Darcy Cameron are probably the 2 best. And then you had, Oscar McInerney, Darcy Fort, and
Reece Stanley.
So you wouldn't have them in the top 5 ruckman in the comp, but 2 of them are premiership players now. So I think if you can get some competitiveness, that's the number one thing, and that's what I like about Bailey Williams as a ruckman when he's at his best too. Best game I ever saw him play was against Max Gawn, and he just bashed him all day. And I said this to Bailey's face. I said, mate, if you do that every week, you'll play 300 games for West Coast. Doing that, being a player similar to Bailey, probably at my best, I was probably like that, and I couldn't do it every week. So it's difficult. It is hard to do that, but that's what you need to do to be a good ruckman. You either have to have the elite talent and strength and skill of a Nick Nananui or a Dean Cox, who are both ultra competitive, or if you don't have those abilities, you just need to be ultra competitive, and you can make it. Long-winded answer to say, I think Matt Flynn could still be the guy, and I wouldn't be going after Mason Cox.
A little bit of follow-up from last week's pod because we threw out a couple of questions, mainly around the MCG and the grand final, and I'll read these out because pretty much everyone agreed with me. Scully from last week.
Okay.
Danielle.
Righto.
Dan says, still with Adam on the MCG final argument. Never let it go, Adam. It's several grand to attend the GF for an interstate person, whereas Melbourne folk, it's your ticket cost and your train, taxi, scooter cost to get to the game. And while that's expensive, still far cheaper than several grand. The AFL keep talking about growing the game, but want to keep all the good stuff in Melbourne and South Australia, the already AFL-focused states. It's my belief that nothing will bring more interstate people to the game more than the chance to jump on a bandwagon of a winning team and see the grand final in their home state to keep them coming back. I'd be willing to pay a bit more to see it played at our new stadium. I think she's in Queensland. As someone who has to travel to so much to play, Will's stance does genuinely surprise me.
Yeah, I did like your argument around that. Like that was decent. That the people that have to travel all year wouldn't have to travel, so you can offset the cost. So, without rehashing what I had to say, I guess I'm just you could call me a traditionalist in that sense. That I like the game being at 2:00 at the MCG, and that's where you've got to win it. And hey, if it changes, I'm not going to be kicking and screaming because I don't think it's the worst result in the world. But you asked my opinion, and that's what it is.
Dan also says, second the remark about enjoying the pod this year. Interaction's been good with the comments as well as the around the grounds really added to it. Can't wait to see what happens next year, says Danielle. Reading the game says, more grand final talk. The fairer solution is host at the MCG every second year. On odd years, you sell to the highest bidder for millions. Requires a stadia of 50k plus. Ticket differential should be covered, and some by the bid price as well by that state. The AFL makes nothing from the 23k tickets in the MCC and only profits from the 77k ticks.
So I guess that means like Adelaide Oval, Perth Stadium, Optus Stadium, and the new Brisbane one.
And you could play at Stadium Australia too.
Sure. Would you like that? Do you want the grand final at Stadium Australia?
Probably not.
Why not?
It's just not the nicest venue to go to. You would have played a few finals there, did you? Over the
Yeah, early days.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. It's not. It's I don't know what sort of. It's an athletics oval.
Yeah.
So it's big.
Yeah.
And the crowd's a long way away.
What's the capacity of the SCG these days? It's probably too small, I think. To play there.
Let me look it up.
They've had some upgrades.
I'd rather the grand final there if you.
Yeah.
But that would be a strange one.
Yeah.
Like that would be a strange offset.
It's a lot about the corporate hospitality at those venues as well, not just the actual bums on seats.
48,000 at the SCG, so
really
it's
close.
Well, you can't.
Not quite there if it's 50k. All right.
Just put some deck chairs out.
yeah, that's it. Or it forces them to add a few more on there.
Yeah.
As well. B-Dub says the capacity of the MCG isn't the biggest issue for revenue. If it was in Perth, they'd charge more, as they did in 2021 to get increased revenue. The issue with the MCG is about a partnership with the government and the AFL, where the government will spend considerable money on the venue, which benefits football. AFL gets a better stadium as a result. The partnership is unfair, but my point is that it's not to do with the capacity, but instead how the stadium gets maintained and improved over its life and how the facility has so many matches during the season. Capacity really isn't the issue.
I saw last week $2 billion upgrade.
Yeah.
Floated or happening or?
Floated, not 100% over the line. Maybe put a roof on it.
But I don't think the roof's happening. But $2 billion upgrade, but it wasn't, I don't think it was increasing the capacity by much, was it?
No, it was maybe 5 or 10, I think.
Yeah. So, it's a fair bit of money. And then, whoever that was, they're probably right. I mean, money makes the world go around, doesn't it?
Paul Disley says, effing oath, the MCG tradition is a farce.
Oh, it's just because it's what's happened. That's what tradition is, I suppose. And yeah, it could be a farce, but it is also a fact that that's where it's always been.
And Mark Edwards says, really enjoyed the pod. Hoping the Eagles can go one worse and don't win even one game next year.
What? So that means there's no more pod because I'm done. I've said that I'm done if they win one of
That's right. You're giving up on everything.
So, Mark, you obviously had enough of me. G'day, Paps and Sco. You got this one in the email, Paps. If you send one in, we can always get it. hello@backchatstudios.com.au. Sydney with a Y says, G'day, Paps and Scoey. No question from me this morning. Just wanted to say I've really enjoyed the new pod this year. Please give a thanks to all the other great guests around Australia for us. Enjoy your time off.
Thanks, Sydney. Been a good listener right the way through, and that's exactly what I was planning to do. Just to finish up today, Scoey, so thanks very much to everyone that's joined in as experts around the place. Tom Rockliff's been on fire this year with his contributions, and he's been on the money with a lot of things this year.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, I've liked his work on the pod, and then just following into X and his fights that he has over there.
Always entertaining.
It's meant that I've had less, actually. I just watched him do it.
Just watch him do it. To Drew Jones and David Zita at Fox Sports, Fox Footy, Goat Fantasy, of course, with Drew over there. They've had a good bit of banter throughout the year too. Callum Sinclair in New South Wales.
The bus driver.
That was the best one of the year. Was when he crossed in to do the show whilst on the bus from Perth Airport into the city.
So good.
He was just like bouncing around.
So good.
The randoms on the bus thinking, is this guy talking to himself? What is going on?
Surprised he didn't have his pilot mask on.
To Simeon Thomas-Wilson and Dom Cassisi in South Australia have been great through the year. Dom really strong late on in the season. Eliza Reilly is a gun here in WA. Absolutely brilliant. And we'll hear more and more from Eliza, I reckon, over the coming years.
She did a bit of chopping out for hosting
for
as
both
well.
of us as well. And did a very good job. Much better job than both of us.
Yes.
And to Steve Gravina as well. I've really enjoyed his insights this year.
It's a good addition, wasn't it?
Front runner physiotherapy, just being able to really break down the injuries, the timelines, and a bit more of the mechanics behind it to actually explain what is actually going on.
And the decision making, like what happens in match committee or medical committee, or what happens when you're an AFL club and you've got this injury, whatever it is. Like I've enjoyed that too.
So it's brilliant. And thanks to Heyscape for being great supporters of the show right the way through. And if you're still looking for a getaway across the summer months, make sure you check out Heyscape at heyscape.com.au. And thanks to the team behind the scenes here as well, to Larea, who's put the show together and packaged it all up brilliantly, which is excellent.
Larea's actually off to Queensland.
Yes.
This is
very disappointing for us.
Basically putting their headphones down and she's off. So she's just said all I exist for is to make sure this show's good, and then she's going. No, but she's been brilliant, Jaden and his team as well. And mate, what about thanks to Adam Papalia? This is your concept, mate.
Thank you. Yes, no, it's been good. Thanks to Rachel as well for booking all the guests and
good point.
Getting it all together this year too, and making sure we ran on time each week. But yeah, thanks, mate. It's been really good fun. I've really enjoyed it. Obviously, juggling a bit of radio and TV stuff as well, but I've liked the different format here, a bit more chilled out and good to sort of just chat and chat with you every week, because I miss that, because we used to do that on radio every week last year. We haven't had the chance to do that as much this year, so it's been good.
Yeah, I got a couple of swear words out of you, didn't I?
One or two small ones, but loosening up a little bit more.
Oh, mate, you've been an awesome addition.
Try to keep you on track.
No, well, that's it. That's pretty much everyone's sort of modus operandi is tighten me up. So... Yeah, mate, I think everyone at BackChat's really appreciated you bringing the concept to us and being able to put it out across, to our BackChat audience, not just, separate audience. It's been really cool. It's been an awesome addition to what we've been trying to do, which is really just, bringing good content that, it might not be for everyone, but, trying to put it out into the world. And we thank our sponsors as well that sort of, back us in to be able to do it.
Brilliant, mate. Thanks very much to you for sitting in that chair and bringing your opinions and analysis right the way through the year and having some good banter and discussions along the way.
And a thanks to our audience.
That's where I was going to next.
Great.
Absolutely.
Oh, I should just shut up.
Just take the compliment, and I'll keep hosting here. Thank you. Biggest thank you all is to our audience as well, those that have tuned in each and every week, either on the podcast or on YouTube. The engagement's been brilliant on socials, but particularly on the YouTube comments as well. You get a little bit of everything when you check those out, Scoey, each and every week. But it's great to see the engagement. It's been great to have so many people tuned in. And next year, hoping to make it bigger and better. If there's something you think would add to the pod, something you'd like to see included, someone you think we should get on the pod or anything like that, drop it in the comments. We'll be looking at all that across the summer and hopefully back bigger and better next year.
Well done, mate.
Thanks, Scoey. Thanks, everyone, for listening. This has been the Footy Interchange.